Hi, my name is Philip Brutman, and I'm going to share with you a little about my healing journey and my work in alternative therapies spanning some 30 odd years, and how it's led me to writing a unique book, The Holistic Treatment of Depression, Anxiety and Mental Illness. Let me explain what holistic means. Holistic means it tackles the ailments from a physical, mental, psychological and spiritual way, all the parts that make up our being. Firstly, let me make a few points really clear. I'm not a doctor, and this is not medical advice. This is just my testimony over 30 odd years of working, researching and suffering these issues, perhaps as you are at this minute. My journey started many years ago and gave me some very deep, dark symptoms, and on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being mild, mine was about 6 in terms of severity. All the usual symptoms was crippling exhaustion and unable to work. However, it did increase my sensitivity hugely, which led me to seeing auras and feeling energies around people and places so acutely it was at times painful to be with some people. However, this acute sensitivity had some major benefits which you might find interesting in your unique journey. There are numerous depression, anxiety and mental health tests you can use to determine where you are. That is normally not an issue, determining if there's something wrong. So I'm going to really focus on what I found and learned that brought me great hope and helped rebuild and help me get to a better place of well-being. Firstly, I quickly realised that mental attitude was paramount. I must want to heal and must be open to trying different therapies. That inner attitude was crucial. Willingness must be present to do what it takes. In fact, over 30 odd years of experience with life and working in alternative therapies, it was apparent without willingness there is very little that can be done. It was and still is key in so many endeavours. I also found that once depression, anxiety or mental illness had got a grip on people like they had suffered a number of years, it was much more difficult to shift their past experiences, often shaping their mind and future expectations. Life programs us on a daily with experiences. Undoing that programming is often difficult, but I found over 30 odd years there is vast hope, and my life experience have shown me some very different insights on these ailments. As a therapist, I've been given and led to many therapies directly from the spiritual realms. The extensive research of the Edgar Cayce material further added insights. Combining this with information with top nutritionalists like Adele Davis, Dr. Mercola, Dr. Harold Reilly, who held over 4 degrees and had over 40 years in applying the Edgar Cayce material. Combining this with David Macmillan's input from clinical interpretation of the Cayce material, adding the spiritual healing energies of people like Harry Edwards, who still gives an enormous contribution, who clearly showed and demonstrated to thousands of people the power of spiritual healing. Harry then compiled his book of 10,000 positive outcomes from spiritual healing. Adding that contribution as well of the great American Indian who showed me the vast, wondrous energy of earth healing, the input from the spiritual realms of the transformative role of voluntary work and addressing one's own karma. Adding some of the finding of Robert Bruce's work on negative entities, which I found prevalent in about 90% of cases, including children and people with depression, anxiety and mental illness. Adding F. Batmanjani's work with hydration and water, which brought amazing changes just by adding spring water into someone's diet. The evidence shows that many people are dehydrated, most of the time with corresponding detrimental issues. I cannot get good results if people are not drinking and eating correctly. Thousands of therapists echo these findings, and one of the first things I found was to address in a lot of cases. The Edgar Cayce material covers things like spinal misalignment, which he states repeatedly can change people's well-being on so many levels. He even stated you could remove many people from mental institutions by addressing spinal misalignments. It's not difficult to grasp. If spinal misalignments are interfering with nerve flow or glandular secretions, which are total keystones in your well-being, I mean, many times you recommended seeing an osteopath and getting corrections done. And the people that did this improved vastly in my experience. It could be a very good idea to have spines checked and corrected where applicable. This is what I found. The Edgar Cayce violet ray can have some instantaneous beneficial effects as well to some people's well-being. That device, by the way, was recommended in over 900 times in the research readings. I can confirm a definite positive effect. My experience with massage is really positive, transformational in thousands of cases, and thousands of therapists echo this, and Edgar Cayce himself mentioned this. Detoxing is another transforming therapy, and Dr. Harold Reilly experienced of 40 odd years getting brilliant results echo Edgar Cayce's findings and many other therapies. Exercise is another fundamental therapy, and research indicates brilliant results, better than the leading antidepressants according to some studies. Hypnotherapy and positive suggestion is another fundamental therapy, offering massive positive impact on well-being. Edgar Cayce mentioned this numerous times, and in my experience, those that use this therapy receive beneficial effects. Glandular issues, Cayce mentioned, are a huge factor in depression, anxiety and mental illness. It's echoed by my experience. I've seen people going around like zombies, half dead, when glands were faulty. Addressing those issues was a high priority. Attitudes and emotions play a huge role and often needed addressing. The book mentions this greatly. I also had a great American Indian who guided me to the benefits of earth energy in my healing journey. This therapy was transformational for my journey and continues to be honoured. And further inputs from other therapies were very useful as well, such as laughter, comedy therapy, positive affirmation, hug therapy. What a lovely therapy that is. Light therapy, which can really lift people, I found. Counselling is another valued therapy and it's so helpful. Essential oils play a huge role, I've also found. Flower essences is another therapy worth a look into. I found thousands of testimonies. The transforming power of water as well, from the work of Dr. F. Banjani, where hot baths, showers, fountains taken internally, transforming people on a daily basis. Voluntary work, done when of course you're able. This is the raising of one's vibration in the form of service, and nearly every case I have seen positive results. Every case. Cayce mentioned this, of course, so many times and told people to look around them and help. Some ideas that come to mind are helping the homeless, the sick, the bereaved, the lonely, the isolated, the victims of crime, or work at the Samaritans. You can even work online if you can't get out, offering support or listening ear, or with Amnesty International, sending out letters or signing petitions on the thousands of good causes out there. There is no shortage of work, just a shortage of people willing to help. In my experience of 30 odd years, I've noted that the more you do of this, the faster the results in every single case. I've devoted a chapter to this book on this aspect. It's so important. There are loads more therapies in the book which I found useful, especially in cases of mania and possession. I'm not going to mention this too much here, as I see it is truly horrific. Almost a separate presentation needed, as it would scare too many people. But mental illness can go that way, especially if it's not addressed, I've found. The approach I've used is like a multi-bombardment, addressing the issues from a variety of different angles. The vast majority of people I have found do not know the cause of their ailments. When these therapies are used, I see these benefits: greater self-worth, greater confidence, greater life balance, a reduction in negative thoughts and feelings, a reduction of hearing voices, a reduction of schizophrenia, a reduction of PTSD, a reduction of disassociation, a reduction of emptiness, a reduction of compulsions, and a reduction of mania and possession. One question though that comes to mind for a lot of people is, well Phil, if these therapies are so good, why isn't my doctor mentioning them to me? That's a very good question. Why, indeed, is this the case? Many people know the reasons. It's money, vested interest and fear. Let me explain a little. For a doctor to recommend XYZ therapy to you, to say those words, I recommend massage, violet ray or whatever, that therapy will have to be tested deeply with clinical trials over many years with many people, and according to Wikipedia, that testing can cost between 500 million to 1.3 billion, and that's a lot of money. Do you think a massage therapist or any other therapist is going to fund that kind of money so your doctor is going to say the words, I can recommend massage as a therapy that's going to help you? Of course not. So only big companies and governments can fund that usually. You may notice governments don't do that for their people in general. Do you think that should change? Food for thought, isn't it? Companies fund the money, and they don't spend 500 million on a therapy if there's no chance of profit in it. Thus, they don't do the research on all the things I've mentioned to you. Many therapists, because they can't put a patent on them. If they can't put a patent, they can't make profit. So they're not going to spend money on testing all these therapies, and thus your doctor is not going to mention them to you. There are exceptions to this, of course. Their number is growing. Thus, choosing a good doctor is paramount. I cannot say this loud enough. It's paramount. Now, for the subject of antidepressants. My experience of them is horrendous, and the forums I have been involved with thousands of people giving their testimonies, reporting their findings, is not good at all. Some people spiralling into suicidal episodes. Loss of entire libido was common. Nausea, common. Derealization, common. Possible side effects written on the labels are very real. I have found in my experience the therapies within this book are light years ahead, literally. From my experience over 30 odd years researching and applying these therapies, the therapies in this unique book offer vast hope to substantially reduce the severity of depression, anxiety, mental illness, or shorten the term of people suffering these awful problems. I might even start a Facebook group to expand on these therapies and any other therapies which are useful, if there's enough interest, like a support group focusing on improvement. This book, though, is written without any vested interest. If it works, it's used. If it doesn't, we discard it. Therapies stand or they die on the results they give. One other thing, which is a real godsend, is of course a helper, a friend, a parent maybe, to help get these therapies in place. To get you out of bed in the morning, to jog your memory, to motivate you a little. We found this to be an absolute crucial element. Someone, of course, who's in sympathy with your plight. A coach, if you like. Perhaps your local volunteer bureau might send some person as a volunteer to help you. But just to remind you and make this clear, this is my testimony of working in this field for over 30 odd years. This is not medical advice. This is not advice at all. Just my findings. You can download the book completely for free using Kindle Unlimited, or buy the physical book, or read it on your computer or phone or tablet by downloading free Kindle software. The links to the book are in the description. thank you. The red button now.